All right, so the composure triangle. This is a concept I teach a lot and I bring up a lot in the coaching and stuff when we are talking about things like interviews, but also it really applies to any kind of communication, certainly negotiation conversations, any problem solving conversations, anything like that where you might be feeling a little bit higher energy, a little bit anxious, a little bit stressed or concerned, or just feeling uncertain with the unknown, which is always there, whether we think of that or not. But anyway, I learned this concept actually from marketing. I learned it specifically from this guy called Ted Hargrave. Marketing for hippies is his whole thing. And so you might see why I was like super into his kind of style of teaching marketing and learning it and doing it for a mission driven business. But anyway, let me explain what the composure triangle is. At least that's how I call it. So let's imagine, and you can think of it, in any number of situations, whether it's an interview or something else, but a lot of times, okay, imagine there's like a line, and on one side of the line is called collapse. And on the other side of the line or spectrum is posturing. So collapse is where you might go into something like an interview situation and be like, I really think that I'm the ideal person for this job. Like we match on so many levels in terms of what I bring to the table. But I just really want to work with you all so badly and do this work so badly. If you can't afford to pay me, I would do it for free. So you kind of make that kind of claim, put yourself out there, but you immediately walk it back on yourself, and that's hence the collapse. On the other side is that posturing thing. So posturing is where you were to go in, and if it was an interview or something, you would go in and be like, I'm so amazing. I'm the shit. You're ridiculous to even put me through this interview process. You should be paying me $3 million right now, or I will walk out the door. So it's the complete opposite where you are really, what is the word? I guess bloviating is one word, one fancy $10 word to put it, but like you're really like puffing yourself up to be a lot and to be amazing. And the thing is that most of us in any kind of high stress situation or conversation, interview, negotiation, we are back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, somewhere on this spectrum between collapse and posturing. And so it can feel very destabilizing, very volatile. It's not great for being grounded in yourself. And the reason we kind of go back and forth is because like, oh, we might show up to one conversation or one interaction and be like, I was like too weak on that time. Like I really shouldn't have just like given up so much. So like next time I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna be super, super overconfident. So like we overcompensate and overcorrect a lot, and that leads to this kind of back and forth pendulum effect. Not great. So the key is to get off of this spectrum completely and go to a third place, hence the triangle idea, a third place off of this spectrum, and that place is composure. So in composure, it's more about this is what I bring to the table. These are my experiences. This is my lived experience. This is my talents and strengths and skills. Here's what I could do. And then what are you looking for? What's the problem you are trying to solve? What are your all's needs and goals? Is it a good match? So the distinction here is because in composure, there's no trying to have power over somebody like in the posturing scenario. And you're also not letting them have power over you in the collapse scenario. It's you are a person with power and agency. They are a person with power and agency and needs, etc. Is it a good fit? Now, side note, sidebar, asterisk. Are there power dynamics in play? Sure. There almost always are power dynamics in play because it's us. As women of color, people of color, non-binary people of color, there's always going to be that structural bias and institutional systemic oppression at play. At the same time, on an interpersonal level, it's a very different mindset you're approaching from, which is simply like, here's what I bring to the table. What do you need? Is it a good fit, right? It's not a judgment. You're not trying to have power over them. You're not letting them have power over you. And it's more of an equal exchange. This also relates to the whole idea of like interviewing is not a one-way thing. It's a two-way street. You're also interviewing them. That's a whole other video. Anyway, so this is the composure triangle. The idea is for you to always approach and present yourself and move and speak and decide from a place of composure as opposed to being back and forth on this collapse and posturing, roller coaster. So the way to do that is to continually reground and recenter yourself in like what do I bring non-judgmentally and like facts wise to the table? What are they looking for? Is it a good fit? And not to go in with this necessary agenda like I'm here to convince them to hire me no matter what, or like this feeling of trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. No. It's really more of an inquiry from both sides of like, is this going to be a recipe for success for everybody involved? Is this going to potentially lead to a win-win-win, or are we feeling a mismatch in some kind of way already from the beginning? All right, so that's the idea of composure triangle. Hope this was helpful and something to help you think about. I'll give you one more tidbit that I shared when I was when I was filming the YouTube pilot for NPR's Life Kit episode on this, which is if you think about a composure triangle like this way, but you flip it, it actually helps think about grounding yourself. So if there's one thing that will also help you access that place of composure, think about grounding yourself in what actually matters to you, your values, your integrity, what you are looking for, and your sense of self-worth and value, and objectively knowing what you could potentially do for an organization, for a team, for a mission, for a set of clients, for the world. All right. Hope this was helpful. Bye.